This is Tri-County Spin, a public affairs presentation of WHIG TV. The views and opinions expressed on this program are not necessarily those of WHIG TV or its sponsors. Now, here are your hosts for today's edition of Tri-County Spin.
Herb is my guest host tonight.
Well, thank you for having me.
And I'm Sandra Smith, for those of you who don't know. And with me, our guest is Robbie Davis on the board of Nash County Board of Commissioners. Thank you, Robbie, for coming.
Thank you. My pleasure. Good to see y'all.
And anything interesting happening?
Yeah, we just thought we'd have you up here just to, talk shop a little bit. No, I want to say something to Robbie on the air that I sincerely mean. During this whole process with Sanderson Farms, every time I have called Robbie, every time I have asked you to come, you've returned my calls. You have come when I've asked you. I mean, it may not have been in, within an hour, but, within a day, you have came. And Robbie, I really want to thank you for that. You've just been, to me, open and in talking to the people and letting us know what's going on. So thank you for that.
Glad to be that way. I wouldn't have it any other way when you're blessed to be an elected official, as I feel like I am. You owe particularly your reporters and your news reporters, your papers, you need to be accessible to them. And you just owe your constituents what's going on, quite frankly, and I'm pleased to be able to do that. And thank y'all for doing the things y'all do here.
Thank you very much. 2 years of a very divisive process, I would say. Is that what you...
Well, actually, Sandra, it is 2 years and 9 months in 4 more days. It would be 2 years and 9 months is what it would be. We started on June the 18th of 2010. That is, if you're speaking about the Sanderson Farm recruitment process. I didn't know what you called me here tonight for, but I can only assume that may be in the subject matters that may pop up tonight.
It definitely will be. Robbie, in this 2 years, well, I want to go back to the beginning. Your reason for recruiting or trying to recruit Sanderson Farms, I understand, was jobs. Was that not one of the main reasons that you wanted to do this to start with?
Sandra, that was certainly, at the time Sanderson Farm came looking at Nash County, I had the pleasure of serving as the chairman of the Nash County Commissioners. And of course that job is charged with industrial recruitment. I've also been a member of the Gateway Partnership and the Eastern Region Board. That's just a big part of what I think I should be doing each day, is trying to bring jobs to Nash County and the greater Rocky Mount area. Certainly once probably in a lifetime, if you're lucky twice, you may have an opportunity to recruit an industry that brings that kind of job count, which was 1,140 jobs and a $100 million investment. I went to work with the city of Rocky Mount in 1973 in the engineering department. Part of my duties there were to provide information to our industrial recruiter at that time, Mr. Bill Rose, who was probably one of the better ones that's ever been in the country.
He was a gentleman, yeah.
A gentleman, different individual, but he knew his job extremely well. During that period of time, we were fortunate in bringing the Cummins diesel plant to Whitaker's.
Right.
I can remember the long process we had with that. And that brought a tremendous amount of jobs. Of course, Hospital was before my time working with the city, I do believe, and so I wasn't involved in that one. But this, with the exception of Universal Relief, which always had a lot of part-time jobs, but still had a very large job count, this is the only time in my career we had an opportunity to bring 1,140 jobs to the county by a company that, to me, I have learned to be an absolute first-class company from the top to the bottom. a excellent corporate citizen, and it was just started out. I thought it was going to be one of the best things that ever happened in Nash County, quite frankly.
Well, you feel like you did your homework pretty well, don't you?
Sandra, I've never had a subject matter in my lifetime that I've studied anymore. Our entire board studied it. I served as chairman for a period of time, and then we elected a new chairman, but I was still charged with being the person that would finish that project, and I was honored to have that choice by our board to do that. And so, yes, I did spend a tremendous amount of time researching that company. I got to know the 5 top players in the company extremely well. Mr. Joe Sanderson himself came to see us many times. I spent many hours with him, as well as his 4 top, I'll call them colonels for lack of a better word. They each were charged with a different thing in the company. But there just is not a better corporate mindset in any business that I've ever dealt with before. And what I like best about them, on June 18, 2010, they expressed to us what it was they were looking for. And when I say looking for, people, including myself and my conservative nature, do not like incentives, but the world today, if you do not participate in that game, you will not bring any more jobs to your area.
Right.
It's just the way it's done now. It's sad, but that's the way it's done. Sanderson let us know what they wanted that day, and it never changed. Most of the time when you meet what a company tells you to start with, the ball moves, and then it moves, and then it moves, and then they start playing you against other people, etc. That didn't happen here at all. They knew and told us what they had gotten in Lenoir County and the city of Kinston. Told us that's what they had expected, and it was very reasonable, quite frankly, and it's never changed from that day, except for on several occasions they have backed up some because of some hurdles we may have hit. So we not only lost the jobs, we not only lost the $1 million investment, but we lost one of the best corporate citizens we would ever hope to bring to North Carolina, quite frankly. They're just great people. I think even if they were to be truthful about it, and that may well not happen, but I believe the city of Wilson, having gotten to know those chief leaders in that 4-day period we spent with them, 3 days, whatever it was, I think they had to come away from there with a sense of understanding of the quality of company that we were dealing with, because they stopped what they were doing. They will not travel together naturally, not allowed to. Only 2 of them can be at the plane, in a plane at the same time. So when 5 of them came, they had to bring 3 of those jets in here. And of course that just infuriated people, but that, you know, a large companies like that, that's
the way
just
they
the way
do
they
it.
have to operate.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
When I worked for Purdue back in the late 70s, early 80s, when they first came to North Carolina, they did the same way. They would fly in here from Maryland and meet with us when they first came here, and you just don't put key people traveling together because the company has just got to go on no matter what happens, you know. So
that's for the safety of the company.
Safety of the company and stockholders. I mean,
Absolutely.
it's a publicly traded company, and that's just the way you have to operate. So,
well, the president and the vice president don't travel together.
That's correct.
You know, that's just, it's the same, you know, scenario. Robbie, when did you find out this news? Did you feel it coming recently? Did you get blindsided? What happened?
Sandra, I didn't get blindsided at all. I understand business. You know, I have a business background. I'm not that diverse in publicly traded companies, but they're not much different. They do have some rules they have to follow, but in the end, I felt like if we couldn't clean up the path we were on and get the lawsuits behind us and get the injunctions behind us in a reasonably timely manner, that at some point they would reach where they had no choice but to move forward with another location. Those people we dealt with, I feel like didn't make that decision. They have a corporate board that meets once a month, and I know when they met in October, I think the corporate board came in, and I believe 3 of Sanderson's people are on that board, as well as 9 other people from outside the country. I think that corporate board gave them a timeline that they had to be ready to start a plant, because their market share has increased tremendously. They have lost some competition in the industry due to, you know, for whatever reason it may be. I won't speculate on why some of those companies have closed up. But they were growing. They had grown the market share. They only had one item left that didn't line their stars up perfectly, not to want to start a plant, but to have a plant. And of course, that was the commodity prices. And quite frankly, I think this decision would have come sooner had it not been for that high corn prices that took off again back in late summer when we had the drought. I believe it would have come a little sooner than that, but I could see it coming. Only in the last 2 weeks could I tell a difference in my conversations with them, and then I don't recall the date. It's been within the last 10 days. I actually got a phone call, and they wanted to fly up that night and talk to me, and that particular night, and they don't fly up at night and want to talk to you. They wouldn't tell me what they wanted over the telephone, so I knew that was going to be the day, so to speak. But I didn't give up. I kept working on it because it was just so sorely bad and needed. I don't mind losing anything I'm involved with from a personal standpoint, because I pick up and move on quickly. But I felt an extreme obligation, as well as 4 members of our board, to bring those jobs to our people that needed a paycheck in a home, that hadn't had a paycheck in a home in quite a while. The jobs were talked about quite a bit. What I feel so bad about is when it got off track and all the misinformation got out there, it happened so quick and with so much force from a relatively small number of people, but yet a very educated group of people that were very vocal, and we just couldn't clean up the misinformation that was out there. No matter how hard we worked, we couldn't get the people to understand that what they were saying was just 95% inaccurate. You just, once it reaches that point, I've learned that you just can't get the train back on the track with that group of people. Now, I still believe sitting here tonight that 90% of our county desperately wanted that company to come here. And that particular facet of folks are the ones I've heard from yesterday and today, quite frankly, and that's the way it always works. There's just no telling how many emails I've had, how many texts I have, which I can only read. I can't respond to them by choice. I don't drive the best in the world, so my wife says, without playing with something. So I try not to play with something. Don't even have voicemail on my cell phone on purpose. So. But the phone calls and all I've gotten yesterday and today have been tremendous, but sometimes I wish we had more of those people available during the fight and maybe not after the fight, and hopefully we can all learn by that as well. The saddest part is, to me, is we just won't be able to put those people to work. I don't know when and if we'll get an opportunity to bring that many jobs online again. And quite frankly, it was important because those are the jobs that the people we got unemployed can go to work tomorrow and do. Sanderson was very good about putting people with previous records to work, and I'm talking about criminal records. If you had a criminal past, you had a certain period of time, they had a criteria that you had done those things, if you had served your time. You know, having experienced that myself in the construction business, working many workers, even having experienced it some in my own family, to change the habits of a person that has committed crimes and gone and served time, you got to give them a way to make a living when they get out. You got to have that available for them.
And a lot of times, once they get that job, they realize there's a better way, an honest way.
That's right. And that's the part where I felt like I personally have failed so severely. It's not bringing those jobs to those people. And those people that we have that are undereducated, that have formerly worked in our textile mills and various other jobs that are not here anymore. I saw an opportunity to put 1,000 of those people to work at one time. We had our people that said those people weren't going to work. That's not true.
You know, people will work if they're given the opportunity.
That's correct. Some people will not work. The average person, if you give them a decent job, you pay them a decent wage, and you give them benefits, and they've got a family or maybe not even have a family, they will work. And that would be the choice they would make.
And there are also a couple hundred office jobs, computer jobs, technology jobs that were just a little bit higher paid, and so we're missing that opportunity also.
We are. And the truth of the matter is, a couple of my phone calls today were vendors that would have supplied particular products to this plant. One of them is a gentleman I've known all my life. Wife used to work with me at the city that does the shaving for Sanderson Farms. Just makes the shaving, that little part. But he was so looking forward to it. It would have been, I believe, Mr. Raines told me, somewhere in the $700,000 to $800,000 worth of purchases a year they would make for this particular plant for those houses.
And that's just one.
That's just one thing, and I think he told me he worked 12 people. But the job count really is 2,430 people is what we lost by not having it here when you look at the total picture.
And then there would have been construction jobs, and there would have been hotels and restaurants coming to that general area, gas stations, things like that, which would have been more jobs. And some of the vendors would have probably located warehouses and distribution centers adjacent to that property. Very possibly. That's just something we will not know. And you just don't get that opportunity many times in a working career to hit that kind of job count. It was a great loss for us, quite frankly. I know there are a lot of people that are happy about it. I partly understand that, but Sandra, you asked me before we started what I learned in the process. The one thing I've learned that is saddest to me is we have a lot of people in our area that are successful, and I said this to the Rocky Mountain Telegram last night, that are successful and to me are somewhat selfish because they're not willing to have just a tad bit of inconvenience to allow a large facet of our community to get the tools, which is a job, to help move our entire region forward. Right. And you know, we're doing this twin county visioning process now. You can't put part of the people on a train and put them on the road to success or the track to success and expect the whole area to go with them. You got to find everybody a car to ride in.
That's right.
And a car to ride in starts with a job. And that's why it bothers me so bad today, quite frankly. I don't mind the hard work that we did. Our board did a great job with it. We had some division on the board that I would never, ever understand. But the 5 of us that felt like we were doing the right thing, I appreciate those other 4 members that worked like they did. And Mr. Tyson as well, I'll always be grateful for. And moving forward, you know, we just got to go find something else to put to bring some jobs here. We'll probably have to do it in much smaller pieces, but we'll find things to bring here.
Now, go ahead.
There's a lot of unanswered questions, and I think we're going to take a quick break when we come back.
Yeah, because I've got 2 or 3 more things I want to ask Robbie. Want to get into, Robbie, I see it as 2 groups. Landowners were opposed. The city of Wilson was another big animal, if you would say that.
Well, that was the animal.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, want to talk about that as soon as we come back from our break. We'll be right back.
Bailey, you're so fine, you blow my It's that time of year again, and Bailey's is the place to go for a custom-designed class ring that will last a lifetime. Talk to our jewelry experts and design a ring that will shine with your school pride forever. Bailey's guarantees the best jewelry experience possible.
Don't you want a Bailey's box?
Welcome back to Tri-County Spin, sponsored by Bailey's Fine Jewelry. And, you know, we were just talking, I've got Robbie Davis, Nash County Commissioner, with me this evening. In case you just tuned in, we're talking about Sanderson Farms. Surprise, surprise. To me, I see it, Robbie, as two different groups. I kind of see one as the big animal, the city of Wilson, and then we have the Landowners Association and some of those individual citizens that were concerned and against the chicken plant. What was the reason for the decision Sanderson Farms made? Was it because of the landowners coming to the commissioner meetings and just being upset, or was it just Wilson County, all those lawsuits, and they just kept on and on and on? Which one was it?
Well, Sandra, if you don't mind me correcting you, one thing you
Please
said,
do.
that Wilson County, it has never been...
City of Wilson, I'm sorry.
It has
I
never
don't know why I
been
said Wilson County.
County.
City of Wilson.
Yeah,
You're exactly right.
Their board of commissioners over there have been very supportive, and I've got to know their chairman, Thomas Lucas, very well. A fine
I know
gentleman,
and
Rob Boyette.
You're exactly
they
right.
are just great people, and of course they work with us, I guess, somewhat privately, and I should keep that discreet. I understand that, but they were very supportive of this project, but been in the situation that they were in, I understood how they had to move forward with it. But really and truly, the big animal, as you used the words in the room, was certainly the city of Wilson and the lawsuits that they brought and were probably funding brought by other people. They had the horsepower of the super lawyers that worked on this project that spent apparently $1 million looking for something we did wrong. And if you do anything in a day's time, you're going to do something wrong. Our board never done anything intentionally wrong. We made some mistakes. We'll make some mistakes in December. And if we meet in January, we'll make some more mistakes. We're not perfect people. We rely on our legal staff. They do us a good job, but they're not perfect either. And anytime you have someone that does nothing but scrutinize everything you do, you know, the naysayers in this particular issue wanted to use it, that we were trying to hide things. We don't hide things. That's not the way this board operates. When we do industrial recruitment, we work under a set of guidelines, and our new member, Ms. Barnes, when she comes on, she will learn that some of the things, or everything we do, we have to do it the way we do it. And to criticize the board for the way we operated, I have very thick skin by nature. It doesn't bother me, it really doesn't. I get up every morning and do the best I can do. I make mistakes. Some of our board members, I think it does bother, and to me that's very sad, because they're doing the best they can do as well. But the real animal was indeed the city of Wilson. They had an unlimited funding source called a tax bill. They were using taxpayers' money to file those lawsuits. I was questioned, well, aren't you doing the same thing? We never filed a lawsuit in this entire process. We defended our county and our people as we had to do. Do I like spending that money we spend in legal fees? Absolutely not. It bothered me every day. It bothered me every night. I'm conservative. You have to have lawyers. I got some great lawyers that are great friends. I've made more in this process. but I don't like paying them. I will
Right.
never like paying them. They're
Right.
making too much money.
You don't mind sitting with them and talking, but
I
when,
do
when
not.
it comes to
No
the
one is
bill,
worth $300 an hour or anything close to that, and probably just lost several of those people I consider friends. But you know, I just don't think anybody, whether you're throwing a football, putting a basketball through a hoop, or a lawyer is worth $300 an hour. But that's another whole point. But that was the thing that in the end was the thing. I think the city of Wilson knew they could do it if they kept filing lawsuits. They didn't have to have merit. We had
it's just called a wear down process where they wear you down and they
well, it's
wore
not
down
so much
Sanderson.
wearing me down, wearing us down. We wouldn't wear down. You run out of time.
Yeah,
That's the problem.
because
the
now-
business decision takes over.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
Sanderson
mean,
Farms asked you for a timeline, kind of. The
What
board
happened,
wanted
Sandra?
a
You
timeline.
asked that earlier, and I never answered your question, or started to answer. That corporate board wanted us to deliver them a time when we knew they could start.
Right.
They came in here, asked that question. Of course, I could not give that answer.
Right,
Our
'cause you're in
board-
litigation.
Our board cannot give that
Time
answer.
after time.
We have won 4 lawsuits. One of those is in the appellate court. Half of it's been answered. The appellate court didn't give us a full answer. Went back. We know what the answer will be. We knew what the answer to every one of them would be the day they were filed. They were all frivolous lawsuits. The ones that were coming up the pipe that would be filed in the future, we knew we would win. But because we're doing the right thing. But in the end, you run out of time when you're up against a timeline of a product that needs to go to market. And they were smart enough to know that, and they played it out, you know, very strategic, and it just got us in the end. They came and they wanted that date. We couldn't give them that date. I felt like they knew we couldn't give them that date, and so the decision was pretty much made on the merits of what was presented. I certainly don't hold it against them. I value the fact that they stuck with us 29 months, quite frankly. I will always admire them for doing that.
And they were complimentary also of the board and everybody that in Nash County that had, you know, been involved. All of y'all on the board, and I think Mr. Gesseman and
Sure.
Bob Murphy and county manager, and they were very complimentary.
Well, they should
of
be.
us.
Yeah, they definitely should be, because the whole team worked very hard on it.
Right.
And our staff at Nash County, no telling how many hours they got on the clock and how many hours they got off the clock involved in this. And I certainly appreciate the effort that every one of them gave forth on this. It just was unreal, the teamwork that was put together over there with our staff and our manager.
Robbie, what will happen now? Where are we at now with the 97 plant
property.
property?
Well, as you know, we had another, what I consider to be very frivolous lawsuit filed on it. We won that case last Friday, which means it still belongs to Nash County. Sanderson Farms, in their discussions with me, offered to buy that property. They said, we'll just pay you for it, and then we'll be responsible for just doing what we need to do to get our money back out of it. That's the kind of company they are. They want to make sure we were not going to get stuck one dime in dealing with them. Another reason we lost a great corporate citizen. I knew our board hasn't taken official action on this yet, and therefore I can only speak for myself and several that I've talked to and certainly management, but we don't need to sell that piece of property.
It's prime property to start with.
It's a great industrial property.
97 and 64.
Reasonable. People say we pay
95.
too much money for it. We didn't pay too much money for it. That's the business I'm in. I buy property and I sell property numerous times a year.
But you didn't ever have anything to do with the sale of that property or any.
Well, Robbie's
Well, actually,
kept away from
Yeah.
everything. He had no financial gains.
Yeah, I mean,
in
there were
this
no
whole thing.
financial gains on
He was
your
not going to be
end
any
with the sale of that
construction with the
property.
factory.
Absolutely not.
Okay.
I would
We want to
never-
clarify that.
I would never take
We know, but-
penny for anything I do as a board of commissioners. In fact, I purposely give up a lot of opportunities that I just think people may look at
Right.
as been something that's not there. So But that's another whole
Well,
story.
now-
But the main thing is we need that piece of property. We need to make it an industrial site. It is an industrial site. It is now zoned industrial, and we're gonna put an industry or some industries on that site.
How many acres is that?
It's 145 acres is what it is, and there are properties around it that are available to be bought. If we need more land, I think we can purchase.
So we
that
can make a
land.
little industrial park out of it? Or?
Certainly we can. Or you know, it's the prime location in Nash County for an industrial site because it's proximity to 95. And
Right,
we now-
97 and 95. That's,
We had gas available, we have water available, and had Sanderson located there, we'd have sewer brought there because that's something they were going to provide.
so we brought water there.
Well, we have water there, and we have gas. The city of Rocky Mount has gas going by it. What we do not have yet is sewer, but with a job count, we can get sewer there with the grants that would be available to do that.
Are you optimistic?
That we'll find someone there. I won't have a good night's sleep till we put someone on it.
Okay, that sounds good. That's what I like to hear. Now, the hatchery property was bought by Sanderson Farms.
That's correct.
So that's their property.
That's their
Yeah.
property. That's a piece of property they probably will not keep. It's a relatively small tract. The family that we bought that from has a first right of refusal on the property, something they asked for, and we certainly gave it to them. I'm sure, again, I can't speak for Sanderson, but I do know how they operate. The first thing I would think they would do is to offer it back to the family at what it was bought for. If that doesn't work out, they'll just, I'm sure, put it on the market, is what I think they would do.
Right.
It doesn't really help our large site because it's located a distance away from it. Had to be due to some criteria they had to meet on distances between the hatchery and the processing plant. So that would be a property that would be on the market, I'm sure, if the family chooses not to take it back. And I hope they would take it back.
Right.
Quite frankly, I think it would be great. They were very nice to deal with, as were the Williamses. I want to put in a plug for the Williams family. The mother and father that owned that property and the siblings that worked on it, they have just been absolutely great Nash County corporate citizens in working with us the way they have, and I thank the world of that elderly couple that sold us that property.
Robbie, I'm going to put you on the spot. Do you think, this is probably speculation, and I don't like to do that, but do you think Sanderson
You
Farms...
believe
We're going to let
You
you,
believe that
comes,
heard.
We're
Robbie.
going to let you speculate.
Do you think Sanderson Farms will relocate in North Carolina?
Sandra, I would be highly, highly surprised if they located this plant that they need in the state of North Carolina.
Really?
They became very frustrated during this process with, I asked a question, and I may not should say this, but I'm just the kind of guy that tells it like it is. Sometimes it's pretty, sometimes it's ugly, but I do the best to tell the truth. My age doesn't allow me to remember things much anymore, so I don't have to remember what I said the last time if I told the truth, and to tell the truth the next time. That's a technique you learn as you get older. But in asking one of their key people what was one of the driving factors, of course the biggest factor was not being able to have it a clear path in a timely manner, and the other thing was the way it was handled at the state level. We didn't get any help out the governor's office on this particular
if you
thing.
will look at my last question, it says, did the state help you in this process?
I'm sorry to say they did not. They did not help us. It was a position where they should have, the governor's office itself and Commerce should have came over here very early on and put this issue between the two governmental agencies to bed early. They would not do that. I think our current administration that's coming in would certainly have done that.
Well, we have a new governor coming in,
In
and
fact,
he's very pro-business.
I'll share this with you. Tuesday morning, when I knew the end was coming quick, I went over to Jim Gardner's office. I said, Jim, I need some help. I'm getting ready to lose this thing. Do you think we could get Governor-elect McCrory to make a phone call and talk to Sanderson people? He said, let's find him. Let's talk to him and see if we got him on the phone. He agreed to do it immediately. He did make the phone calls. I haven't talked back to governor-elect to know what those conversations were, but he was all over it at just one little request.
Well, Goldsboro's been eager to get a plant like this. Kinston said we'll take the other plant on the other side of the county. So there are people in North Carolina, and almost any industrial recruiter would do anything to get this type of facility.
Herb, you know I'm on a board, Eastern Region Board, there's 13 counties, and every month I dread going to that meeting because those other 12 county commissioners down there would stick me in a corner and try to run me off in this project because the other 12 wanted it so desperately, particularly the nice chairman of Lenore County Commissioners. He was wanting it so desperately, so he'd have 2 feathers in his hat, and I do understand that very much. He wanted to put it on the southern end of the county. I don't speak for Sanderson Farms. Wished I could because I'd be proud to speak for a company like that, but I'd be totally surprised if they put it in North Carolina just due to the comments about the state office and how they handled it. I think you'll find it in the state of Georgia or the state of Texas, and I believe it could well be in the state of Texas. There's 2 other situations like North Carolina, Kinston. They've got a feed mill there that feeds 2 plants. They've only got 1. In Georgia, they've got a feed mill that feeds 2 plants. They only got 1. In Texas, they've got a feed mill that feeds 2 plants. They've got the 2 plants, but the business is so good the feed mill can't keep up. So they need another feed mill, but to put another feed mill, they need another plant. So they got 2 opportunities in other areas. And the one thing they wanted me to fully understand was they had 2 governors in those states that would do what it took to get that plant there. So that's the difference that we lack. But in my opinion, we should hopefully have that coming very soon. And this state desperately needs it to get our unemployment rate down. We've got to get pro-business, and we got to do what it takes to bring jobs here, whatever that might be.
Well, you're getting a response. I have a question from a viewer. They want to know, talking about the feed mill, they want to know why did they build the feed mill so big in Kinston if they're not going to have the plant here? But they intended to have the plant here.
Well, at the time they built that feed mill, they knew they would have another plant or needed another plant in North Carolina reasonably close to there. They did not know where it would be. Well, we got in our recruitment process after that feed mill was complete, quite frankly, but it needs to be within a 60 or 70 mile radius of that feed mill is where the plant would need to be located.
So
but that's a lot of counties.
So now if they don't come to North Carolina, they've got a feed mill that they could have built smaller.
Sure they could, but they build feed mills to serve 2 plants.
And
they've done it everywhere.
They'll find other people to take their product, the corn product.
I don't think they do that, Herb. I do not know where they have done that.
So that's just a waste.
Well, it won't be a waste. You know, they will be back at some point and put a plant in North Carolina, I think.
You think so?
Yeah, they're too smart. They're not going to have that feed mill sitting there running half capacity.
Okay.
But so long. The one in Georgia's been there 5 years.
Okay.
But you know, where their product goes to, this plant that they will bring in here, one of the things that they needed was a port close by as well, which, you know, we've got a port in Bullhead City, we've got a port in Wilmington, because of that product out of the Big Bird plant, a lot of it would be shipped overseas. So I think, personally, just me looking at the big picture, certainly not Sanderson Pig, but I think you'll see it going to Texas because of the port availability there also.
Wow.
And they also want to serve the Northeast from here.
That's a question that doesn't work in the equation I'm looking at. They wanted to do that. I don't know how they're going to do that from Texas or Georgia, really, but I guess
more trucks.
Maybe that'll give us the opportunity at some point in the future after this plant's built, maybe the 11th one that they have in the United States may come back to North Carolina somewhere, which would be great.
I'm going to give you an opportunity again, Robbie, to, there's one message that I feel like you would want to get out, because I've heard you many times at the commissioners meeting. Do not want to put words in your mouth, but I will let you elaborate on this. You never really felt like there was a health risk with this at all, did you?
I'm not sure I understand your question.
You never felt like it was the big environmental risk that everybody made it out to be, did you?
Sandra, I've never felt like that, and to carry it further, I know that's not true.
Okay.
I've worked in this industry too long. I've studied Sanderson Farms up and down. I've looked at how they do things. I've been to their plants. I've talked to people in the communities at every location they're at in the United States, and you can't find anyone that has an issue with them. And you've probably heard me tell this story. I think we're getting near the end. The one thing that I remember most by all the people I've talked to is the superintendent of schools in Georgia. When I requested to see him, and it was at the spur of the moment that he met with me and a few other people. He couldn't have been scripted. He came in, and one of my questions was, Sanderson Farms have been here in your small county for 5 years. What have they done for your schools? He immediately looked at me, and quite frankly, this is you know, a little temperamental for me, but he looked at me and he said, Robbie, when Sanderson Farms came here, our graduation rate in 4 years was 54%. Today, 5 years later, it's 78%. He said, I won't tell you it's all because of Sanderson Farms, but what I will tell you that more than half of it is. And here's the simple answer. He said, Sanderson Farms put a paycheck in homes in this county that had never had kids that had never seen a paycheck in a home.
Right.
And he said, you'd be surprised at what it does for a kid in the 7th or 8th grade to see parents start getting up in the mornings, going to work, bringing home a paycheck, and start doing the things that other children in this school district have done. It just changed their whole philosophy on how important an education is. He said, certainly it wasn't a very large paycheck, but it was an adequate paycheck to live like our county lives. He said, and when both parents worked there, it was really a boost to a family. He said $54,000 is the figure he used coming into a home that had never had a paycheck. He said it just changes things.
And Sanderson, I'm sure, urged its employees to get GEDs, further education, through technical schools and
they like to promote 100% within the plant. They grow their whole workforce from people that are employed with them. They find those people along those lines that can do other things. That's the one thing I saw in Georgia. All the supervisors were pretty darn young folks. And I asked one of them, I said, where do all these young people come from? You know, you're all in your early 30s. How do you get these jobs? They said, we started out there. And out there was on the line.
Right.
Yep.
You got to start somewhere.
Yep. Robbie, how do we mend fences with Wilson?
Sandra, I do not know. I'm 60 years old. When I was 16 years old, the people in the city of Wilson, the students in the city of Wilson felt like they were better than we were then. That was in 1968. They still feel that way. They think they're a lot better than the people in Rocky Mount. And you know, that doesn't bother me. They can be better than the people in Rocky Mount. They can be better than the people in Nash County. I just wish they'd stay in Wilson and be better and leave us alone over here. I don't have any interest in and this is a sad thing to say, I'll be glad to do anything with the elected officials in Wilson County. And to the elected officials, or at least some of them change, and they change attorneys for the city of Wilson. I don't have any interest in doing any kind of business dealings with them whatsoever. They're not the kind of people that we like to deal with, quite frankly. I'm sorry to have to say that, but I tell it like I feel it, and that's the way I feel. I don't think you can mend that fence. It hadn't been mended in my lifetime. I don't think it's going to be mended tomorrow. And in my case, the fence is just as tall as it's ever been.
Well, maybe.
And the city of Wilson, the county of Wilson is a completely different thing. And I think you'll see us work together on some things.
Okay. Robbie Davis, Nash County Commissioner, thank you so much for being with us tonight.
Glad to be with you.
Hope you enjoyed that, and we hope you got well informed as I did. And we'll be back, take a commercial break, and see you on the other side.
Okay, Robbie.
Hey, Bailey's, you're so fine, you're so fine. you.
It's that time of year again, and Bailey's is the place to go for a custom-designed class ring that will last a lifetime. Talk to our jewelry experts and design a ring that will shine with your school pride forever. Bailey's guarantees the best jewelry experience possible.
Don't you want a Bailey's box?
Okay, welcome back to Tri-County Spin. That was quite an experience.
That was supposed to be a 20-minute interview with Commissioner Robbie Davis, and you know, he was willing to answer anything we asked. So we wanted to ask about the properties, and I wanted to find out. So now we know that they own the Hatchery property. We already knew that. Sanderson owns a Hatchery property, but he taught us that they have first right of refusal, the family. So it will probably go back to the family.
Well, it would be offered back.
Yeah, it'll be offered back to the family. Okay, we understand. And the feed mill is a good question.
Well, the feed mill was built to service 2 facilities.
So, did you hear it? Did you hear what he said, though?
They
will probably come back to North Carolina.
Eventually, I mean,
eventually, because they've got that feed mill that they.
But their growth potential is so humongous.
He thinks they'll go to Texas. Mm-hmm. See, everybody today has been speculating Eastern North Carolina, Goldsboro. Where do you think? He absolutely thinks it's
Halifax.
Robbie absolutely thinks it's going out of North Carolina. Well, he does not think it's going to stay in North Carolina.
Well,
so that was a different perspective, because everybody I talked to in Wilson today, we went to Wilson to the Farm City breakfast, and everybody was
now they weren't
speculating.
Gloating, were they?
No, Wilson, I have to say, was not gloating. Some individual citizens have been.
Well, there's always individuals that.
But Wilson said, we don't know what's coming next. Now, they may gloat when they find out they might be going to Texas instead of Greene County, but they were still worried that they may come to Greene County on
the other side of Wilson.
On the other side of Wilson. So there's a lot of speculation of, where they're going to go now. We don't know. It's uncertain.
Edgecombe County?
Can't go to Edgecombe County. They cannot go to Edgecombe County because the aquifer will not hold
supply enough water.
Supply enough water. Absolutely not. That's already been checked. Believe me. Somebody, a very reliable source, told me today that Edgecombe County could not accommodate Sanderson Farms. So, and I don't even know if they've ever visited Edgecombe County and thought about it.
Well, it'll be interesting, and I hope we are able to mend the fences. There are a lot of people that do want to see the fences mended in Wilson and in Rocky Mount.
Well, Wilson, I think Nash County feels like, and I'm not trying to put words in Robbie's mouth, but they feel like nothing has been up for negotiation. Absolutely nothing. They wouldn't hear of it. They wouldn't hear anything. They didn't want to work with Nash County at all on this project. It was absolutely you know, my way or the highway when it comes to...
Well, maybe we'll learn to work together, maybe working as Nash and Wilson and Edgecombe counties, because the three of us are tied in very tight.
And I meant to ask Robbie, and I can ask him this at any time because he always answers the phone and he always is willing to answer my questions. So I need to ask him, you know, time constraints got us, but I want to ask him about the potential plants that they have talked about, industrial companies that they have been talking about coming. I think they said there were 3 that they were looking at, one very strong. Wanted to see how soon they think that might be. That's very important. But Robbie feels like that's such a good industrial site that Nash County is going to hold on to the land.
Well, we've got a great industrial site up there at Gold Rock with Poppy's in there, the Cheesecake Factory, Wrexham is there. There's a tractor company there.
Right.
And another facility, I can't remember what that is. And there's a spec building available. In Nashville, they built 2 spec buildings, and they're both filled. One with the electronic plastic, what was the name of that company? And then Atlantic Foods. What was the?
It was foam plastics, but I can't.
Now it's foreign electronics, I believe.
Yes, something I can't. But yeah, it would make a nice industrial park, probably. And you know, the people out there feel like we need a clean industry. You know, so let's see what happens. I hope it's sooner than later.
Okay, thank you very much for...
And let me make one plea. Toys for Tots, we're having a big project on Friday here. Bring your toys. Please go and buy a toy or write us a check made out to Toys for Tots. We are really trying to raise toys for the kids. It's not their fault. Parents are out of work more than ever now. Please help us raise toys for the kids. We're helping the Marine Corps League with Toys for Tots. All of the money stays in Nash County.
And that's going to be this Friday
downstairs in the parking lot from 7 to 10. We'll be collecting toys. Just drive up. We'll take them from you.
New
and we'll
unwrapped.
Thank you, and we'll even give you a Krispy Kreme donut and a cup of coffee. So that's a good trade-off.
That's good
for a toy.
Okay.
Okay. So drive up with your toys Friday morning, 7 to 10. Please help us. We really ask for your help. We appreciate it, and have a good evening. Watch Lisa and myself on the morning show tomorrow morning, where we will have David Toller from Carolina Jury Pawn and Gun, and he's going to talk about
gun laws.
Gun laws. He's going to talk about guns and all of these kind of things. So that'll be interesting at 8 o'clock. And of course, Lisa and I never know what we're going to talk about. See you in the morning.
It's that time of year again, and Bailey's is the place to go for a custom-designed class ring that will last a lifetime. Talk to our jewelry experts and design a ring that will shine with your school pride forever. Bailey's guarantees the best jewelry experience possible.
Don't you want a